This is Al Sharpton, and I'm keeping it real on WGCV 620 AM, KC, Columbia, where knowledge is power.
Hello everyone, this is Armstrong Williams on the right side. Don't curse, speak English. Virtuous society. I dare you to listen.
Hey, turn it up. Hey, Armstrong, get on the right side. Armstrong,
elevate your mind.
Armstrong,
I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Armstrong, man, it's your boy KO. And you're tuned in to the most conservative of our brothers.
The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break.
Oh, give me a break. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Armstrong Williams Show. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, I always need to salute the people that make me look good on the air. You never hear their names and you won't see them. Anthony Carr, who is our IT engineer who makes the studio and everything possible. Every now and then I have to give credit where credit is due. The Bible says if you find something good in somebody, praise it. And Nancy McPhail, my wonderful executive producer. Some people call her my public wife, but let me just tell you, she's just my executive producer. You know, I know Milo joins us every day at this time, and when Milo gets there, I'm sure he'll give us a shout out. Milo, are you there? No. But anyhow, a few years ago, I had an opportunity to take a delegation of journalists and photographers to the Holy Land in Israel. And one of the people that was a part of that delegation was one of the most famous and most sought after photographers in the world. In fact, he is one of the people that have chronicled some of the most important events and Jet and Ebony magazine, and he just happened to have stopped by the studio today, which is so rare because we all are over at the Capitol this evening covering the State of Union. He's covering as a photographer and I'm covering as a reporter, and it's a very historic event tonight because it may be President Obama's last State of the Union. I know many of you are hoping that is not the case, but it is such an honor and pleasure for me to welcome Fred Watkins. I mean, Fred Watkins is a who's who among photographers in the world. Fred, welcome to the show, man.
Well, thanks, Armstrong. Happy to be here.
Fred, talk about photography and what it means, because people, you know, I remember when we were starting the website, Anthony said to me, look, man, you need pictures. People need images, okay? It's just not enough to have content. You got to have something for people to resonate with, and pictures, actually, that's what they do. Pictures draw people in. Talk to us about the importance of photography and many of the cutting-edge photographs that you've been responsible for, especially during your wonderful years with Ebony and Jet magazine when they were at the height of their circulation and their power in the world.
Well, one thing you have to always make sure when you're photographing a subject, you have to do a little research on who, what, when, and where. And a lot of times you're in situations where the light may not always be on your favor, and you have to be able to be quick to adjust your cameras to make sure you come out with the right picture. And journalists, you don't have time to call it back. I've been on many trips with the presidents and celebrities walking runway. You have just that one moment where you have to make sure you get the right picture.
Well, and how do you know when you have the right picture? And and how many clicks must you have before you have the right click? And do you know you have the right click? I probably don't know until you actually look at the photograph.
Well, sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. Basically, your composition is to frame it accordingly, and your exposure has to be correct. And what I like to do is take several photos, sometimes not always posing. You like to look for that candid shot, maybe turning her over the shoulder, or a shot of them just being their self. And a lot of times you look at the subject and you try to capture the moment.
You know, listen, you talk about some of the famous photos that you've shot for Ebony and Jet magazine that people have gone and seen in museums, they've seen in other places, and had no idea that you were the man behind that great photo?
Well, some of the most memorable shots and one of my favorite topics was Mandela, traveling with Clinton to South Africa, and also when Mandela was on his tour of the United States. When he first came to the United States, we picked him up in New York, and I traveled on the same plane with Mr. Mandela throughout the United States. We started in New York, we went to Washington, Florida, East Coast, West Coast, and we ended up in Oakland. And that was a great moment of being with a historian like Nelson Mandela. I photographed Mary J. Blige, Halle Berry, Hallelujah Barry, and various different other celebrities at the Oscars, the Grammys, and it's always different, and you always try to put yourself in a position where you could get the best shot.
Milo, I hear you're finally joining us. How are you today?
Good. How are you today, Armstrong?
Just fine. I know you have an affinity for photography and the importance of it, so I definitely want you to be a part of this conversation that we're having with Fred Watkins in the first segment, because sometimes what we try to do is do different things. I know we're going to get into the meat of the State of the Union and what we should expect, but sometimes we just like to introduce another spice of life. So I'll let you take your stab at Fred Watkins, who's live in our studio.
I was just looking at some of Fred's work online, actually, and very impressive. As you know, Armstrong, I work with a lot of photographers as part of the Yo Llama model. It's a core element and significant component of our overall business model. Photography today is more important than it has been in really throughout history, because of the effectiveness of visual communication on the web, and it's probably one of the best ways to communicate, to get as much information conveyed quickly, because people don't read anymore. So I'm glad to see, and Fred, I love your work.
Oh, thank you. My website is Fred Watkins, www.fredwatkins.com. But it's still a struggle for Black American photographers. If you, like tonight, I'm doing the State of the Union, and I could actually be able to count out of, let's say, 30 photographers, I will be able to count how many African Americans on one hand. And I say there will probably be less than 3 tonight. And it's a struggle is correct for photographers, and I'm freelancing now, but I shoot reality TV shows for ABC and I shoot for Fox, but still we have a long way to go to. If you look at the hearings and on Capitol Hill, there's very few of us that are able to get the credentials to be right up front.
Yep.
Milo?
Yeah, part of that, Fred, is attributable to our community historically has not been plugged into the inner networks that enable people to get into these programs. It's less a black, white, a minority, non-minority issue as it is an issue of network access. When many of our counterparts are being groomed in whatever businesses we're being groomed for, we have the ability to develop networks that transition generation to generation. I'm still enjoying some of the network access that my parents' generation created. I think where the solution to the problem is alternative programs. Not to be self-serving, but in the case of Yo Llama, we work with a lot of artists across the world, many of whom are photographers, and because of their participation in our program, they're plugging into networks that they didn't have access to in the past. I think in the inner workings of the political community, it's again about networking, and programs to assist our folks in gaining access to it are out there. We just have to avail ourselves of them.
Yeah, I agree. We have to work a little harder than most people, and a lot of organizations don't have a tendency to pick us first for assignments. I've been fortunate enough to shoot for ABC and Fox, and I always learn. I learned from the best. Gordon Parks, Monita Sleet. You always have to make sure that you come prepared, and always no assignment is too big or too small, and always give it 100%, which I always do.
Well, look, I am just thrilled that you took the time to drop by our studios as you head over to Capitol Hill, which is a stone's throw from my office.
Yes, it is. Literally
a stone's throw, and prepare for the State of the Union, where I will be joining you later to broadcast and update. You know, one of the things that I like to do, Milo and I, with our listeners today, you know, I'm already getting some IMs on the chat room, and you can chat with us live also by going to www.livestream.com/Armstrong Williams. Someone asked, if Obama is qualified, has he earned the trust of the people to be reelected? And we're going to delve into that and much more. What should we expect from the President's State of the Union? What can he say tonight? Will he try to malign Republicans? Will he try to further distance himself from Congress? Will he submit a budget, which he's already passed the deadline on? Will there be something new that he has not said before? Will it be a speech of rhetoric and little on substance? I'm Armstrong Williams. Fred Watkins, thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining
Armstrong.
us in this segment. I'm still a big fan of yours. I remember we were in Israel together in that great photography. Milo, we'll be back. Don't go away.
Wow.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
Thank you, Armstrong.
Preventive care is a critical component of limiting lifetime complications for persons with diabetes. According to the Society for Vascular Surgery, when complications develop, aggressive management of contributing factors to atherosclerosis, otherwise known as hardening of the arteries, is also very important to managing the disease and preventing stroke, heart attack, and leg amputations. Atherosclerosis is a known side effect of long-term diabetes that, in the worst-case scenarios, may lead to blockages in the diabetic's heart, brain, or leg arteries. If you have diabetes, see a vascular surgeon to care for your arteries and blood vessels. Today's vascular surgeons are the only specialists who are skilled in all vascular therapies. They're comprehensively trained in medical, endovascular, and surgical therapies. Vascular surgeons are the experts who provide the best diagnosis and treatment for vascular conditions. To learn more about your vascular health and to find a vascular surgeon, visit the Society for Vascular Surgery's website at www.vascularweb.org.
Travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com. For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
What if your son or your husband,
your brother, came back from the service with a spinal cord injury?
Paralyzed Veterans of America helps our veterans secure their benefits. You can help. Visit PVA.org, a public service of Paralyzed Veterans of America.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong Williams Show on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back. So, Milo, what should we expect from the president tonight?
A couple of things, but Armstrong, before I answer that, can I touch on something?
Of course.
I wanted to share with you. You know, I grew up in Long Island in the 60s, and my father served in World War II, and last night I had the opportunity to see a very important movie, and it's something that I actually think everybody in our community needs to be supporting for a couple of reasons. It's a story that is as important to the African American community in America as the Holocaust is to the Jewish community. And that's the story of the Tuskegee Airmen. And George Lucas, the director, writer, and producer of Star Wars and many other great films, made a $100 million personal investment in telling this story. And it was released last Friday in the form of the movie called The Red Tails, and it chronicles the contribution of African American aviators in World War II, who actually had the top performance record of any fighter group during World War II, having never lost a bomber under its supervision and care. And they escorted the bombers into the initial attacks into Berlin. This story is important, and our community needs to go out and support this movie. It is a cast of black actors, and it tells a historically relevant story about the African American contribution to this country's freedom. And it was funded entirely by George Lucas out of his personal pocket to the tune of $100 million. So I just wanted to shout that out if I could.
You know, I talked about it earlier doing a pre-record with Richard Prince about the Tuskegee Airmen. It was just, it's awesome. It came in number 2 in the box office this past weekend, over $19 million. Second only to Underworld with vampires and werewolves, which I understand. I follow all the series of Underworld. It's a story of persistence. It's a story of courage. Even when they did not want them to serve, they were persistent to do so. They made an extraordinary contribution. The special effects that George Lucas put in with the aircrafts is just unbelievable. And it's getting rave reviews despite the fact that the critics tried to pan it. And I couldn't agree with you more. It is a must-see.
It's critical, you know.
But it's a must-see for all Americans.
Yeah, it's a must-see for all Americans. But the studios tried to kill it. They said it wasn't relevant, and George Lucas had the commitment and the wherewithal to go forward with it. And for me, it's a personal touch. I am a P-51 certified pilot.
Wow.
My father served as a Tuskegee Airman. He was a flight surgeon for the Tuskegee Airmen. My godfather was a Tuskegee Airman and was shot down twice and received the Distinguished Flying Award. I grew up with this story close to my heart and in my family, and it's an important story. I mean, it's critical that our youth understands the role that we played in the freedom that America enjoys today.
Why is Romney's taxes renewing the debate on wealth in America?
Well, something, interesting segue, but let's go to that. The whole Romney issue is extraordinary to me. I mean, here's a guy who clearly has absolutely no relationship with the common man and common American. He's staging $10,000 bets on national television during the debates, and he has been reticent about distributing the information that every potential elected official is required to do as part of our electoral process. And he has delayed it and hem-hawed and tap-danced around it. And the bottom line is, this guy made $42 million over the last, 24 months and paid 14.5% because he was able to manipulate his cash flow so that it was all capital gains and none of it was wage and salary. And, that's not what the average American is experiencing. So, people are irritated by it. I understand it.
But it's legal.
It's not a right or wrong thing. It is what it is. It's like the earth rotating.
But it's legal.
Yeah, it's legal. But something. I'm. Here we go, and I know I'm going to hear Armstrong. You're going to tell me that I told you so, and I'm going to take my beating, quietly. But all these guys, I as you know, I supported Newt in the beginning, and I find that I can't support Newt anymore. And Romney is a problem for me too because, while you and I don't necessarily see eye to eye on all of these candidates, one thing that I think we share in common is that there is a level of credibility that we expect out of our elected officials. And I have a problem with an elected official who understands the rules, enters the game, and then refuses to play by the rules because the rules don't necessarily show him in the best light. And that's what Romney did. And in the case of Gingrich, we're dealing with a situation where here's a guy who is brilliant, no question about it. But I look at Gingrich and I say, how can I support a candidate who really should be nothing more than the candidate and for the poster child for hypocrisy? He's going to be womanizing and running the streets with his mistress while he stands and calls for the impeachment of a president for doing the very same thing that he's actively doing. So I'm at the problem. My problem at this point is that we've got the GOP has no viable candidate who I can comfortably stand behind because every one of them seems to be flawed, except for Ron Paul, who doesn't seem to be ethically flawed, but just seems to be flawed in his overall, understanding of what the world needs. That's my soapbox.
Well, listen. So tell me, where's the perfect candidate for you, Milo? Sounds like you're voting for President Obama.
No, that ain't happening. That's not happening. I don't know. I would have liked to see Chris Christie jump into the game, but I guess he's not going to do it. I got to tell you, at this point, my perfect candidate would probably be Michael Bloomberg, but that's not a realistic choice either. Even Trump would be better than one of these liars.
But they all lie.
No, but you know something? One thing you can say about Trump, whether you like him or dislike him, Trump is a pretty straight-up guy, And I guess that comes from making your own way. You can afford to take the position that you just don't care. Say it the way you see it. And whether you like him or not, I can't identify a single thing that Trump has said publicly that was a fraudulent representation as it related to his credibility or efficacy.
Well, then why can't you support Ron Paul?
Ron Paul, my problem with Ron Paul is not an ethical one. I think Ron Paul is a stand-up guy, too, so let me clarify that. I think Ron Paul is all over the map. I don't think he's a strong foreign policy candidate, and I don't think Ron Paul has a solid economic understanding.
Okay, but he meets your moral litmus test.
Yeah, he definitely meets my moral and ethical.
So it tells me your moral litmus test is not enough then for you to support somebody. So I'm trying to figure you out.
My moral litmus test isn't enough?
No,
it isn't.
So what are you looking for?
More involved than just moral and ethics.
Well, does Gingrich and some of them have a combination of what you want? No, it seems like nobody's going to ever be exactly what you're looking for. So who meets the lower standard?
Gingrich has 90% of what I expect in. Well, no, I won't go 90%. Gingrich has most of what I support and believe as it comes to international policy. He is weaker on economics than I would like, but he is suitable in that area. His efficacy is a challenge for me. His credibility is a challenge for me. Romney is a solid economic player, but not sufficiently strong on the international policy, which is going to be critical, and doesn't have a strong defense understanding. So he's weak there. The difficulty I have right now is we need an 11th hour hero to jump in for the GOP because we just don't have a strong enough candidate. Who are you getting behind?
I am neutral. I'm as a journalist.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm supposed to take a hardline position, but you're going to sit neutral?
Listen, it's just obvious if you listen to me long enough who I'm not supporting. I think that's more important than who I'm supporting. Look.
Well, on that one, we're in concert.
What the wealthy understands, and I'm going to get to the callers when we come back on the other side of the break, better than others is a simple rule. They let their money work for them and not the other way around. Look at the President of the United States, for example. What he gets paid as president is peanuts compared to the responsibility of his job. No one out there has any clue what he has to consider, and I think he handles the whining on both sides better than you or I possibly could. If you look at Obama, he looks simple and political. It wouldn't surprise me if his charity was lower before he ever took office, because he doesn't strike me as somebody who would give much to charity. I'm just being candid with you. He is smooth, though. Gingrich looks like he just wants to party it up and spend his hard-earned money. Not to say he wouldn't make a good president. He would be better than what we have now economically, and he believes in free enterprise, as you mentioned, which is why he works hard and spends hard. It makes the economy stronger. Okay? Romney, on the other hand,
judgment.
Excuse me?
His problem is judgment.
Right. They all have the judgment problem, especially Obama. What bothers me about Romney is the fact that he did not want to release his taxes, said he was going to wait until April as if it was irrelevant. And then the biggest thing for me was when they asked him about his speaking engagements. He said, I didn't make that much money. I made $300 and some thousand, which is nothing. And I said to myself, this guy is literally out of touch with the world. And he was serious.
$300,000 is nothing.
It's what he said.
Interesting. Just a side note along those lines. Interesting thing about those three mentioned individuals. Of the three people you just mentioned, Gingrich, Romney, and Obama, do you realize Obama is the only one with a mortgage?
Yeah, because the others are wise enough to pay theirs off, hopefully. What most people need to learn is that the wealthy can let their money work for them because they have created a system that allows them to do that over the last 30 to 40 years. They have a system in place. We're coming back. We're going to take the calls. I'm Armstrong Williams. Milo Pickney is our guest. We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933. Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. It's like tiny nails in the air poke my lungs. I start to cough. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital.
Today, 1 out of 13 children suffer from some form of asthma, accounting for nearly 1/3 of all emergency room visits.
I feel like I'm choking. It's kind of like an elephant is on my chest. A little whistle sound comes out when I breathe.
But while your child may suffer from asthma, asthma doesn't have to make your child suffer. There are simple ways you can prevent your child's next attack. To learn more, call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. That's 1-866-662-8822. Log on to www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many.
I feel like a fish with no water.
Brought to you by the EPA, the Ad Council, and this station.
What if your son or your husband,
your brother came back from the service with a spinal cord injury?
Paralyzed Veterans of America helps our veterans secure their benefits. You can help. Visit PDA.org, a public service of Paralyzed Veterans of America.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong Williams Show on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Tonight at 9 p.m., President Obama's State of the Union address. If history is any guide, President Barack Obama will reach for the stars, as he always does, as is George Lucas, during his State of the Union address. But in the end, reality will bring his plans back down to earth, because Obama's blueprint for 2012 may run into similar partisan roadblocks that trimmed his lofty hopes for the last 7 years. Welcome back to the Armstrong Williams Show. Milo Pinckney is with us. Jacob, you have a comment. Jacob.
I just wanted to comment on what you were saying, Armstrong. That comment that you made right before break crystallizes the problem that people have with Mitt Romney. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm trying to get as close to your quote as possible. You said that rich people have set up a system where their money works for them. And that's the problem people have with Mitt Romney. See, the 99% of us have to work for our money, while the 1%, their money works for them.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Now, let me finish before you jump on me.
Okay.
But there's nothing wrong with investing and making money in the stock market. I'm all for that. I've done that. It's a beautiful thing when your money can work for you, and people need to get more involved in that.
It's called passive income.
But the problem is with Mitt Romney is that that's all he's done his entire life. He can't, all these businesses that he claims to have, saved or helped run, he's never set foot in any one of those buildings. Mitt Romney is a man who came from privilege, who has spent his whole entire life getting what he wants because of his name and because of who his father was. And a lot of us American people out here with calluses on our hands, we can't square that in our minds. That's why you see a guy like Newt Gingrich, as flawed as he is, when Newt Gingrich can get in there and talk about grassroots things that Mitt Romney has no clue about, that's why he continues to be successful. And Mitt Romney will fail because Mitt Romney views the United States of America as another company that he can take over. And, the more people realize that, the more people see that all the things he's done has been cold and calculating, and it's all about working angles and saying the right thing at the right time to the right group to get their votes. And the American people aren't going for that anymore. The Republican Party would rather drive off the cliff with Newt Gingrich than put Mitt Romney out there as the representative of their party. Because the people like Mitt Romney, I'm not talking about people like, Steve Jobs and, people like Microsoft's founder, Bill Gates. They create products that we can put our hands on, that we can touch and feel, and make a decision on whether or not we want to buy their product. People like Mitt Romney don't really do anything. They suck money out of the economy, and they don't provide any value for what they do. And then they come and tell us, well, you can be just like us. Well, no, we can't be just like us, because millions of people went into bankruptcy and foreclosure the past 7-8 years trying to be like Mitt Romney, and they got set up to fail.
I just want to interject. I want to give Milo a chance to respond to your assertions. Milo?
Oh, thanks. Throw me into the fire. It seems to me that you are condemning, summarily, arbitrage and redistribution, which is a necessary component of the business world.
No, I'm not condemning that at all, Mr. Milo. What I'm saying to you is that guys like Mitt Romney, who bet against homeowners, who created these subprime loans and marketed them as loans that should be taken by people.
By the way, Romney did not. Bain.
His son worked for
Bain Finance did not work
for those hedge funds.
You just said something that was absolutely erroneous about the housing market. He was not involved in the housing market.
Romney was not involved in the housing market
at all.
His sons are working for a couple of those hedge funds.
Listen, you've got enough to criticize Romney about without creating things that do not exist. And
let's be real. That's neither here nor there. Okay, but people like him. these quote unquote venture capitalists are the same people who got Glass-Steagall repealed, who are in charge of these.
Bill Clinton repealed Glass-Steagall.
Bill Clinton might have signed the paper, but Armstrong, you know how it works.
Bill Clinton.
There's 400.
His responsibility.
No, it isn't, Armstrong.
Can we deal with a specific case?
The Congress of the United States of America sends the laws. They apply the pressure. The president can sign a bad bill. They do them all the time, and you know that. The president
hang on. Before you go down that path, can you pick a specific case of Romney's action, a specific action that Romney took that is evidence of what you are this summary
judgment
charge you were making?
I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but
there is no paperwork.
His sons, just like John Edwards, his sons work for these hedge fund companies. He's had his
sons. Is the issue his son or him?
Well, what I'm saying is that people like Mitt Romney travels in a circle with these big-time bankers, these hedge fund managers, all of these people that were responsible for the financial behaviors that caused the problems that we're having today. Those are his big-time donors.
Now we've gone.
Those are his supporters.
Started off.
Those are the people. Those are the people who are supplying his war chest. And what I'm saying to you is Mitt Romney views this country as the ultimate takeover. Because when he gets in the office, he's going to do the same thing he's done in his businesses. He's going to sell off pieces of our government.
Jacob, that is a stretch. Thank you for calling, though. That is just a stretch. That's too much of a stretch for me. Thank you, Jacob. Go ahead, Milo. And what is amazing,
the correct segue.
What is amazing to me is that he actually believes this.
Well, no, and that's the problem. Armstrong. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. It's soundbite intellectualism. I got a soundbite, and I'm going to hang a whole hypothesis on a soundbite, and I'm not even going to entertain whether or not the soundbite is relevant or correct. So now we are guilty by association. Not the son is guilty by the actions of the father. The father is guilty by the actions of the son and the associations that the son has with others.
Let me just say. Let me just say this to you, because look, Milo and I do understand a few things about taxes for people who have been blessed. Okay, so Milo, I am surprised that you have not talked about this, and let me try to bring this home in layman's terms. Romney's effective federal income tax rate is still above that of many Americans. Listen, 80% of whom have an effective rate below 15%. That is a fact. That tax rate is higher when other federal taxes, such as the payroll tax, are included. Milo?
Yeah, and that's correct. But, what people are reacting to has nothing to do with the merit of the tax issue, Armstrong. We're having two different discussions. What people are reacting to are two things. One, that Romney refused to present his tax data. That's one thing that they're reacting to. And then they're reacting to the fact that they perceive Romney, because of his wealth, as being different from them, which is an accurate perception, but they are translating that into a series of emotional outbursts that condemn him because he has done well in life.
Well, listen, not in the eyes of God is Romney different from them, but he is different in the eyes of man. Let's be clear.
Yeah, well,
And you know what? He's earned that. He's managed it well. He did not squander it. He understands storing up. He made his money work for him. And that is the goal of most Americans. Why are you going to condemn something you want to become someday? I have the potential to become.
I don't get it myself, but, I don't condemn him for that. What I condemn him for is, look, when you did make the decision that you want to go into the public service and pursue public office, there are rules. You play by the rules. I have the same problem with the celebrities that spend all their lives trying to become celebrities, do movies and entertain, and then cry the blues about they have no privacy. You can't have it both ways.
Wait a minute. Better yet, end up in jail for tax evasion like Wesley Snipes is right now. Don't want to pay the taxes after making all this money. But look, but the American people don't hold these celebrities to the same standard they hold people who are elected officials or vying for the White House. And everybody should be held to the same standard. At least Romney was not trying to engage. At least Romney was not trying to justify not paying taxes at all.
No, and you want to know something? I want Romney's problem. I want to be in a position where I pay $14 million.
Thank you. And look at our Treasury Secretary, Geithner.
Oh, please.
Okay. And what about the stand up for Geithner? Please.
Yeah. What about Corzine?
Hey, Corzine. I'm sorry. I am not going to beat up on Romney because he had to pay $14 million in taxes, okay? You know what? I find his life encouraging.
I'm jealous I don't have that problem.
It is a problem. Well, by the way, I know you have that problem someday. But look, it is a problem that all of us would like to have. Okay?
Exactly.
So look.
It's interesting, Armstrong. On the whole tax thing, I just want to put this note out there for everybody who's listening. I have never complained about paying my taxes. I put every legal measure in place to minimize my tax liability. But the reality of it is, the more taxes I have a responsibility to pay, the better I'm doing.
Well, let me tell you this. I cannot say I have not complained.
But,
I'm not going to say that.
We all.
Oh, please! I'm not going to go that far.
We all complain about taxes, but we don't. I don't complain about paying my taxes.
I exhaust the landscape looking for every loophole that is legal.
Exactly.
To make sure I have another write-off. Okay. I will be.
That's a moral responsibility.
I am not trying to pay the government my money to waste it even more. Okay. They're so irresponsible.
That's a moral responsibility.
Yes. Milo, we'll be back. We're going to open up the phone line, 733-5620, 1-866-620-6620. We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
The Armstrong Williams Show.
Wednesday, we look at Wall Street and the financial markets with our guest commentator, Logan Delaney, right here on WGCV, 620 a.m. at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
WGCV, where knowledge is power.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
You can talk about you in the first segment, but then you got to get
For more information on The Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Make good nutrition and physical activity part of your family's daily lifestyle. Be our guest to healthy living and visit letsmove.gov to learn more. Brought to you by Let's Move, the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Ad Council.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong Williams Show on 620 a.m., where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
You know, I've asked Fred Watkins to rejoin us for this last segment. And, you know, and during an hour's broadcast, we cover so many topics. And also, we're live again from 6 to 8 p.m. You know, Fred and Milo, a long line of mourners, snaked through the campus of Penn State University to pay his last respects to Joe Paterno today. He was the legendary coach who gave 61 years career with the Nittany Lions, abruptly ended last year amid criticism of his response to child sexual abuse by Sandusky. I don't know why some stories write alleged child sexual abuse. It's abuse. It's not alleged. It's what happened. But you know, in a few minutes, let me just, before I get in this, I know Lee has been holding. Lee, go ahead and make your comment because I do want to touch a little on Joe Paterno's life. Go ahead, Lee.
Thanks, Mr. Armstrong, for taking my call. First of all, I'd like to make a comment on when you're talking about Romney.
Yes, of course.
I don't think he might have the courage to celebrate his position of what he has achieved in America. And it's going to remain to be seen. And if he can't, it's going to be very sad because, you know, I'm kind of leaning towards Gingrich myself now. I was in the Romney camp, but I think, you know, Romney's acting too soft and too timid. And, you know, but if he's smart, he can turn this into a great learning moment of capitalism, you know, what you can achieve in America instead of all this dumbness about the 1% and 99%. You know, like you guys were saying earlier, we all would love to have that problem of paying $14 million. So, you know, as far as what I'm hearing, though, that he has recruited the ex-governor of Florida, Chris, people to lead his campaign. And if that is true, he's definitely headed down the wrong path. You know, so it's going to remain to see if he got to have a backbone and stop playing soft. You know, let's come out and say, yes, I'm rich, I've been blessed, and this is what the American dream is about. And I'm sure everybody would love to be in my position.
You know what I'm going to tell you something, Lee. I know Milo has finally admitted that he's abandoned Newt Gingrich. But let me tell you this. I love the fight in Newt Gingrich. I love the way he is the boxing. He's the Muhammad Ali of the ring. People want a fighter. This country in trouble, and they want to know that somebody's going to fight and not back down. Yes, he has character defects, but let me tell you, I love the way Gingrich has surged again. I mean, he's come back like the ashes from the phoenix after they have announced him dead twice. You know, Americans love somebody who can come back swinging and fighting and go down fighting and get up fighting. America wants a fighter, man.
I'd like to say how he handled John King. I had to pull it up on YouTube. They were talking about it so much, I had to pull it up on YouTube. And made the man gulp and look sheepish and made him look bad.
Yes.
And that's how you got to handle those guys. Because
had Juan Williams fumbling at the mouth. I said, go on and listen. It's one thing to do it one time, but twice. I think
come on. Anybody that try to pull him down, I think he's wise enough, he's savvy enough to continue to turn it around, and rightfully so. Because I tease some guys. I said, look. Are we going to disqualify the man? Is it somewhere written that you cannot be a divorcee to be president of the United States?
And cheat, as many men and women do.
And then I also said that, hey, the man said he asked for forgiveness for his guy. So what more can you say?
And that doesn't mean because he asked for forgiveness from his God, does that mean we have to forgive him? But let me just say this. The thing that I respected about Newt Gingrich is the fact that so much of these debates and so much of these speeches are either on teleprompter and they're scripted. It really showed the character of this man off the cuff without a blink, how he responded to Juan Williams and how he responded to John King, unprepared, unscripted, and he just said what was in his heart. And that's what people want. Yes!
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, you know, and that's to his credit. But at the same token, you know, and we had this discussion last week, Armstrong, there is a standard that we expect of our president, and I expect our president to be forthright.
Well, listen.
Gingrich presents an image of being forthright, but the hypocrisy of calling for Clinton's impeachment while you're doing exactly the same thing. Close your mouth. Be quiet.
Well, listen.
Clinton
wrote the book on deception and all the other stuff we're talking about now. And they forgave him and tried to redefine oral sex as not being sex. Come on now.
I can say this on Gingrich's behalf in reference to you saying he's doing the same thing as Clinton. He didn't swear on an oath and say he didn't do anything. He wasn't in trial. I'm just trying to say, you know, he didn't lie about it after he put his hand on the Bible and said I didn't have nothing to do nothing like that. You know, he wasn't in the court of law.
I have forgiven Clinton and I've forgiven Newt Gingrich.
Okay, you've made a decision to forgive, and that's all well and good.
And I've forgiven. Because I got to take care of my own. I got to take care of my own sin and shortcomings. Okay, it's enough for me to work on myself. I am not looking for a spiritual leader in the White House. I'm looking for a leader. If I want a spiritual leader, I'll go to church.
That is true.
Okay.
I don't think he's running for the bishop.
No, he's not running for the bishop or the pope.
The supposition that he doesn't have to be credible.
All right, Lee, thank you. What did you say, Milo?
I said the supposition that because he wasn't on the stand.
Okay, go ahead, Milo.
The supposition that because he wasn't on the stand, he's not held to an ethical level.
But he should be.
The reality of it is that the man stood and called for the impeachment of another man for exactly the same behavior he was doing. That hypocrisy is problematic to me.
Yes, and I understand, and I respect that. But I'm saying to you, listen, man, all of them have a speck, brother. It's just the one that you want to embrace more than the other. But look, I want to get back briefly to Joe Paterno. Fred Watkins, how should he be remembered?
I think his accomplishment should be looked at as one of the winning coach in college history, and I think that's how we should remember him by.
Okay, and we'll leave it at that from our photog expert, Fred Watkins. Bill, you have a comment.
Oh, yeah, in politics, but Paterno should be remembered by what he covered up the last couple of years. But Gingrich, yeah, they said he didn't do nothing last night, but Brian Williams, he's the boringest media person out there, but Gingrich, he needs to get back on the attack, because Romney, what were you doing in the Cayman Islands, Romney? He needs to ask him back.
He's still in the Cayman Islands.
Huh?
He's still in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, I know he is. And Obama, he's trying to act like he's for the middle class. So let's look at, he could say that 4 years ago, but he gave Solyndra $650 million. Corzine, his buddy, lost to $1.2 billion. But he gave Bobby Kennedy over $1 billion. Why does another Kennedy need $1 billion? Geithner was over the Fed, and he let all this stuff on Wall Street happen in New York Fed. All right, thanks a lot.
All right, Bill. Milo, you wanna tackle that?
I was trying to follow it.
Oh, I followed it. I understood it.
I'm sorry, I can't respond intelligently to rantings. Look, you've said it over and over, even in this episode of the show. All these guys are flawed. What we're really doing is trying to identify the one that is least flawed.
Don't you rather deal with the flaws that you know than the flaws you may get to know once you vote them in?
Yeah, the only issue I have right now, with respect to, I don't really think Romney is a conservative. I think Romney is a conservative Democrat maybe, but he's not a conservative Republican. Gingrich is still the smartest guy on the stand there. And from what we have, he's going to remain the smartest guy on the stand. But I have a real problem with the hypocrisy, because if he can do that, what's he going to do when he's negotiating international policy? And we're going to have a real solid, credible negotiator to deal with China.
But I do think it's a little different. Listen. I'm going to respect what you've said. What do you expect from the president in the State of the Union? The rhetoric versus the reality.
Well, I think that we can look forward to some highly skewed representations as it relating to unemployment that are going to be nothing but fiction. They may even qualify as science fiction because it's going to require some real creative math. So I expect him to get up and tell us the thing that the economy is turning positive, and then take credit for that. And I think he's going to ignore the elements that are going to counter whatever positive representations he makes. I think he's going to attempt to convey that the situation in Europe with the euro and the European debt structure is less critical, and I think he's going to make reference to increased oil production to stave off specific inflation as it relates to oil prices coming into the spring and summer.
Well, Milo, it is always a pleasure having your eloquence, your intellect, your unapologetic positions on the airwaves. hopefully you will watch the State of the Union, and we'll have you back for further comment because we always appreciate and respect your perspective.
Well, I thank you. I'm jealous I'm not going to be there with you. I would have liked to have been there.
Well, listen, I'm here. Fred and I are on our way on the Hill. You got to cover it. No, it's fun too. It's like who's who in the world at the State of the Union. I'd rather be in the on the periphery of everything instead of in the gallery, in the peanut gallery, because you're so stuck in your seat and you can't move. So I'm going up there tonight to have some fun, and I plan to do a lot of tweets from there. And hey, just turn on your Twitter account, man, or Facebook. It'll all be there. Thank you, Milo. And we want to thank our earlier guest, Fred Watkins, so much for joining us. I'm Armstrong Williams. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of the Armstrong Williams Show.
Armstrong, Armstrong,
Hello, everyone. This is Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Armstrong.
Don't curse, speak English.
Armstrong.
Virtuous society.
Armstrong.
I dare you to listen.
Hey, turn it up. Hey, Armstrong, get on the right.
Next, you get to talk with PA on your way home. The PA Bennett Show on WGCV 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
We're about to do it again. That's right. We've got another cabin. Another cabin aboard the 2012 One Love Gospel Cruise. March 18th through the 23rd aboard the Norwegian Cruise Line Star. So listen for the contest sounder. Be caller 9 and qualify you and your prayer partner for this trip of a lifetime. The One Love Gospel Cruise, March 18th through the 23rd. Grand prize drawing January 31st on the Tony G Show. Win your cabin from 6:20 a.m.
You feel petrified. You're struggling with your mortgage payments, not knowing what to do. You do nothing. But if you do something, you're far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable